TSN hockey personality, former NHLer, and our good buddy on the Crystal Waters Insider Hotline. How are we doing, Noodles?
Good. I got bad hair, so I had to throw on a hat here. I've got
all right.
hat head from getting off the plane. Just landed in Boston, and calling a game tomorrow. So should be exciting. What is the other guy doing there? Is he in a
full screen on Rhett here and let Noodles?
Well, you missed his tuba solo earlier.
Yeah, he did show and tell.
James. He's in his this is, would you call this your home office?
I don't know, but I like it. I got lots of room to move around.
The storage bin looks like to me.
This is a working office, Noodles. Some of us don't, we got things to work on in our office. And
what are you working on, Rhett?
And clean up too.
What's currently the project? That's,
we're reshuffling some of the paperwork, and the filing cabinet over there is getting.
How's that screenplay coming?
Yeah, it's coming along.
Pencil
sharpener. The autobiography.
Yeah.
I would pay a lot of money for a tell-all book, but
hey, James, you wrote one. Maybe you could give Rhett some tips.
Yeah, but mine had to be, we had to do we had to do G-rated. We had to change some names to protect the guilty or the innocent. What jersey is that?
This is the Saskatoon Raiders, Mr. McLennan. These guys, we used to kick some serious ass, like big time.
Yeah. Come through Alberta and get beat 12-0 by the strong Alberta teams. So.
Well, the rich people out in Alberta, eh? We're
it's just not rich. Just
oh, please. All that ice time. How do you afford it? We have to skate outside. Minus 30.
Really is a rags to rich story, this autobiography. Just a single man from a humble little town with two long arms.
Just trying to get by.
What's going on? How's it
I'm in
going?
my little office. I have a little something. I've had this for weeks and weeks, and it's never really lined up where I've been at home and you've been on the thing and that, but you inspired me a while ago. You won't even know you inspired me, but I was out one day and I saw this thing. I'm like, you know what? Noodles would appreciate it. And it's not quite the same.
Right. Oh, the back scratcher.
Oh, yeah.
Scratcher. Isn't it the best, though? It is the best.
I got a little thing going there, and it just hits the spot. How doesn't everybody have one of these?
I'm jealous.
I have them strategically placed around the house. So you're sitting on the couch, you just reach over, there's one, give a little back scratch, and you move on, right?
That's what it's like with my old age and reading glasses now. I need them in every room and every corner of the house.
Although my friends, a Robin Regeer jersey. My kids brought their friends over and they lost my back scratcher, my good wooden one.
Whoa.
There was some punishment handed out.
Yeah.
iPads were missing until we found it. And then by the end, we couldn't find it. So then I bribed them. I said $10 who could find this back scratcher.
Yeah.
I ended up finding it myself in a downstairs playroom where one of the idiot kids had put there. Kids would come over, they just start playing with it or whatever, and then they'd put it down, they move on to the next toy. That's why I started to do a purge. I've purged so many toys out of the house, it's enough. Like, that's enough. Like the kids, you need one or two toys, and then that's it. But I love the jerseys. What is that, Kamloops Blazers?
Saskatoon Blazers, midget AAA noodler. Midget AAA.
We're not allowed to say midget anymore.
Oh, well, what is it? U18?
I don't know. What is it? I'm joking. I don't know.
This is a very, very politically correct show. We're going to need you to use the proper Hockey Canada terminology. They hold such great weight with us right now, Hockey Canada.
Oh my God, yeah.
So Jamie, were you at Madison Square Garden last night?
I was at MSG. Yeah,
how about that
game, man. That Ranger team is coming on. Yeah, I think, I don't want to say back, but they're tickling with it because Zibanejad he's still got lots more to give. I think he's got 9 goals on the season. He's a good player that has had a bad season.
9.
Adam Fox, same thing. Adam Fox has not had a great season, although he's got points. But Keandre Miller, like, they're top players. I like this Will Cooley kid. I think he's a nice player. But Trocheck, really, Panarin scored last night. Like, he's on pace to potentially get close to 100 points again. Like, he's a guy who's, I think a really solid player. But they're
6-0-3 now in their last 9.
Yeah, the Sens didn't play well last night. Like, they that was their third game in 4 nights, and they looked like they had no energy.
Scheduled loss.
Yeah. Well, the scheduled loss was the one that they won because they played Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. in Ottawa against the Boston Bruins and had a bloodbath. Like that was
that game was unbelievable, Noodles. I watched it. That's the best game I've seen all year.
It was unbelievable. So by the time the shootout winner goes in at 6:10 p.m., they've got to fly to New York. So they get into their hotel rooms. I was talking to the guys about 11:30 that night. They played a 1:08 start time in New Jersey the next day. And to me, I was sitting there thinking, okay, if there's ever an excuse to lose a game, this is it. Yeah. Like you're not, it's not 24 hours or 22 hours. We're talking 15 hours later. These guys gotta, drop the puck and play and try and raise the emotion. They got outshot 16-2 in that first period. Forsberg stood on his head. They ended up winning that game. And so to me, that was a stolen game. Against the Rangers, it just had no gas, but it was their third game in 4 nights. They've got a day off today. They play in Boston tomorrow. They go home. Now they day off today. They go home for 3 games in 4 nights again. And it's crazy, like the scheduling. I get it. And I saw some people talking about scheduling, saying how much the West has to travel compared to the East and all of that. Like, I think it was Mark Spector or something in Edmonton said there would be a hockey summit if the Leafs had to travel as much as the Edmonton Oilers or the Calgary Flames or, some of the teams that have to, and they're scheduling playing afternoon games where the Leafs don't play afternoon games. They always play night games and stuff like that. So it's just interesting. But they didn't play well last night, and it was a 5 Cobb, and it actually could have been about 8 or 9 Cobb. It was ugly.
Okay, sorry, I was just going to say, and it's a dogfight right now in the East, and I know we're only halfway through, but there's a look at it. So Ottawa loses, Montreal wins, they get a late goal in regulation to win there. The Rangers win, Philadelphia wins. That's a lot of teams all within 2 points of one another, and points percentage in games played, and it's going to play itself out, obviously. But that's awesome to have that many teams that are legitimately fighting for it here.
Especially Ottawa, Montreal, Columbus guys, because like we've been waiting for years for these teams to finally turn the corner. Like that, those are really excited markets right now.
They are, and they're playing meaningful hockey. I would say out of
the
all
Habs
those
are
teams,
13-3-1 in their last 17. Have you seen them recently?
Yes. Yeah, and I watched them live. They found something there. I still believe, and it's not a slight on anybody. I don't think they're a playoff team. Okay. I think that they're close. I predicted at the start of the season that they would have 82 to 84 points, somewhere in there. They had such a terrible start that people were giving me heck about it. Now they're on fire, but I still kind of stand that there is going to be a market correction in there. This kid Dobra, the goalie, doesn't seem to lose. It was a lot like Merrillainen with the Senators. And then what happens is, the initial adrenaline wears off and you have an off night. You have to find a way to battle back. Montembeault, I thought that was the worst game I've seen him play in a long time against the Toronto Maple Leafs the other day. They're up 3-0. And yes, William Nylander makes a great play. Austin Matthews had a one-timer from 10 feet inside the blue line and hit the middle of the net. Like, I didn't know what he was doing. But
he was good last night, it looks like. 33
It was
saves.
great.
Yeah.
Listen, I think that team has something. I just don't know if it's enough to get it over the line. I think it's great for the market. I do think the 2 best teams that are battling in that mix, I think Boston's in there. I think the Rangers, I seriously think the Rangers, if they get in, they could do some damage.
I agree.
It'll be interesting to see if – I still think there's some dysfunction there. It'd be interesting to see if they end up trading for JT Miller or something like that, if that has the impact that Chris Drury was looking for when he traded Trouba and Kako, because the team really didn't take off. What's happened, the reason why they're 6-0-3 in their last 9 is the goalie's been really good. And then they're getting timely scoring. They're getting, some of their big boys have woken up. And they're a good team. They won the President's Trophy last year. Like the team isn't that much different. I think Ottawa is going to be right there. I think Columbus is an amazing story. I feel like, and I would say this, the 4 of us would know, like Johnny Spirit, all of that. Like there's a lot of things that I think it's just a feel-good story. I don't know if they're good enough to make it through. I don't think Philly's good enough to make it through, but they're right there. So there's some teams that are playing meaningful great games. I think this is great for the league. But when the dust settles, I could see Ottawa, I could see Boston, I could see the Rangers kind of near the top. There's three teams that are battling for 2 spots, really.
And so Boston was the game on Saturday that was absolutely sensational, or Friday, whatever night it was. And it's also
Saturday,
who you're going to play next. Tell us about that game. The physicality I thought was through the roof. There were scraps all over the place. The Sens were down 2, somehow found a way to get it within 1, tie it with a dozen seconds left. Like, did that feel, being in the building, like that was okay, from this point forth, we now measure time from that game? Or is that just too hyperbolic?
No, it's not, because Brady Tkachuk came out afterwards and says, I've been in the league 7 years, never played a playoff game. That's what I can guess it feels like. So, it's not a hyperbolic statement to go, that was a playoff game. You look at the standings, you look at where they are. There's some bad blood. There was a couple greasy plays. You're going, okay, this is a playoff game. And those guys, especially the Ottawa Senators, they need that because they haven't played these types of drag them out playoff style. Now, you hope that playoff games aren't 6-5, or they hope anyways from a defensive standpoint.
Allmark, though.
Yeah, but you're right. Like, they did it without Allmark. Marolainen, that was his first like subpar performance, but he found a way to get the win, especially a couple big saves in the shootout. One on Pasternak where he gave him the stinky eye, which I never liked showing up anybody, but he made a great save on Pasternak and then just kind of looked over saying, yeah, I'm here. I'm 22. So that was kind of neat, but it was a playoff atmosphere. And at least they've got a reference point going, okay, if we need to call on something, the emotion, the physicality, it's that Boston game. So Boston plays in New Jersey tonight. So the Sens are going to catch them on a back-to-back, but that doesn't mean anything in today's game, really. The travel here, it's a quick flight from Jersey back to Boston. These guys will be in their beds by midnight tonight.
Can we see that board one more time, Jack? Because there is that group of teams, and then just north of that with 53 points is Tampa Bay. So it's
played less. They had that one game canceled from the hurricane. And
I think Tampa, I made this weird prediction, and I might be wrong. I think Tampa wins the Atlantic. I do. I think they're the best team out there. But they haven't been proven right yet. Mm-hmm. They do have games in hand.
9 back with 2 games in hand on Toronto.
Yeah. But they've lost 2 in a row. The thing about the Toronto Maple Leafs, Toronto plays Columbus at home tonight, and they play next Wednesday, I think, before the break. They'll have played 30 home games.
Really?
I went through the league. Everybody, the next most that have played as far as home games is like 25, 26. LA's played 17 home games. So the Leafs, after next Wednesday's game, will have 12 home games the rest of the season. They haven't been out west once yet. They've got 3 trips out west still. And I know they get the Leaf bump where when they play in Edmonton or in Vancouver, they play a 7:00 Eastern game because of TV. But it's still travel, it's time zone, all of that type of stuff. When they play Calgary, I believe it's a midweek game. It's a 9:00 start. It's a 7:00 start. They haven't had the to really be out of their time zone other than they've been to Dallas once, I believe, maybe Chicago, like that type of stuff. But they haven't had to go back and forth out west. They do it 3 times from February on. So, the grueling part of their schedule has yet to come. So I think there'll be a slight market correction. Now they're a good team. I can easily see them winning the Atlantic, but I also think Florida's right there, who won last night. They're 3 points back. I think we haven't seen the best of Tampa, who plays a lot of home games coming up as well. So, and head to head against, Leafs in Florida. So when this all shakes out, it'd be interesting to see those top teams that are jockeying for position. I still think there's going to be a lead change or two.
Flames have Buffalo, Robin Regeer's old team, coming in tomorrow. Yeah. Buffalo went into Vancouver last night and beat the Canucks in regulation. Vancouver has 7 wins in their last 23 games. Ew. And it feels like every week we just keep talking about them until something happens. And I think Pettersson got his first in about 6 or 7 games last night, and the JT Miller thing just doesn't seem like it's going to go away until it gets done there. Do you think that there is some traction still to the Miller back to the Rangers, even though sounds like there was a couple of deals that have been lobbed at Patrick Allvin that he's rebuffed?
Well, it sounds like a couple of the deals have died on the table just through the semantics of it, whether it was, the year of the first rounder, that type of stuff. Again, that's all rumblings you hear. I don't know what's verified, what's not, so I don't want to speak garbage. But where there's smoke, there's fire. And if those organizations are talking, can bet they're trying to get something over the line. They have to go to the player to get permission, that type of stuff. But it still seems like, Miller's comments, even like, I'm here, I'm a Canuck today, I'm a Canuck tomorrow. Like, it's almost like, okay, like put a bullet in it and let's move on type of thing like that. I don't know how you guys feel. It's something that it's almost like the Jacob Trouba. You heard in the offseason that Rangers are trying to move him. And then so you start the season and he's your captain. It's a giant disruption.
Have you guys had a situation like that? Because I think back here, it was years ago, but like Mark Savard, you knew it wasn't going to work out. The team wasn't winning. Get him out.
On a different page.
Have either of you guys been in a room where you knew just a guy's basically dead man walking, so to speak?
I mean, Retro, were you there with Savvy? I was there with Savvy. I was.
No, he was before me.
And that was disruptive because he didn't get along with Gibby. And then, Craig Button was trying to move him. And, you like, and listen, you understand, like you're out for dinner with this guy and he's saying, I don't know if I can make it work and all of this. Like you listen, I've had players that have asked for trades before because of family, because of other situations. You respect it. But when it drags on, it becomes a distraction, and it's an even bigger distraction. It wasn't a massive distraction back then because there wasn't social media. There wasn't the information wasn't out there. There wasn't insiders and stuff just plugging it like you heard about it. Now with JT Miller, Pedersen, Rift, all of that, we hear about it ad nauseum. Like and everybody's got to weigh in it. We're talking about it on shows. Back then, there was no. You read the paper a little bit and Mark Savard not happy. Maybe there's a little story on it, something like that. So the only distraction is really within the room and between the player and the coach and whatever happened. But now this is like it's a national thing. Like it's a league-wide conversation. What's going on in Vancouver? What's going on with the Rangers? Like these are league-wide conversations. All of a sudden, they tried to stir some garbage up in Boston about Pasternak and Marchand. And Marchand came out and said, knock it off. We're not having that. And he went right at that, the podcaster or that host or whatever. And the host doubled down, which is fair. The only thing I disagreed with the host of what he said is, I heard that Pasternak went to the coach and said, get this guy off my line. Rare. That's where I was like, okay, it's enough. Like, I could understand the other stuff, where they have a rift, or maybe Marchand stood up in the room and said, I need more from you. We've had arguments in the room. You have disagreements. You have emotional top players that get at each other. I don't mind that. I love it. But when you start saying stuff like, oh, Pasternak went, told the coach, don't put him on my line. That's where the idiocy comes in for me anyways. That's where that story went too far. But I think back then, I've played with guys who wanted out. Kirk Muller on the island, he wanted to be traded. And Mike Milbury came in and was like, this guy's given up on you, which I thought was a garbage comment. And Kirk just was like, no, I didn't give up. I just want to be traded. And
Florida.
He went back, but he went back at Milbury. Milbury didn't handle it well. And Milbury tried to turn the team against Muller. And we all saw through it. It was just, it was Mike being Mike, which is unfortunate. But and
it's interesting because Allvin came out 2 days ago and tried to, hey, we're working on things and we think we got a good team, all this sort of thing, and then you come out pretty flat against Buffalo last night. It's easy to come out flat.
Well,
what's that, Rhett?
Maybe easy to come out flat when Buffalo's coming.
Well, maybe.
But here's the thing: like I watched that game last night when I got back to that room. Buffalo has some players. Like they've got some players. Like. I don't know if they all put it together, but that team on paper is a better team than what I see. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Lindy doesn't have tight systems, if the team is just disconnected, whatever. But they've got some players there. And I don't know if you just pick at the carcass or if Kevin Adams has to trade somebody to shake the room up. But man, oh man, they're I like a lot of their players on that team. Like I like that Tuck. I like that Thompson. Darlene is a player. The goalie UPL he's an enigma for me. Last year he was, Pinder, you could talk to his analytics were pretty good. I think his goal
second half of the year, he was one of the top goalies in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think he's inconsistent. He's a big goalie and looks small sometimes in the net. But Buffalo has some players. So if you're the Flames, you can't sleep on that team. They've got some speed and some skill. And if you underestimate them, they can hurt you. And, Buffalo came out in that third period. They really took it to Vancouver last night.
It's kind of underlines the tough spot they're in because it's like you can go make a deal for Buffalo for sure, but you're probably giving away the better player. Like you're not selling these guys high. They're going to go elsewhere and do better. Like see Eichel, see Reinhart, see Montour, like on and on and on the list goes. Like it's a really tough spot for them because they have a lot of good players and it's not working. And they just hired the coach and now the GM's on the clock. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how you fix that.
Yeah, and the owner is a very unique person, right? A passionate Buffalo guy. Rhett, you could probably speak to him.
I can a little bit, and he takes a lot of guff from people, but I don't think he's ever done anything where he's meddling, and I don't think he's done anything other than try to improve the team. I don't think he's come in and said, you have to do this. He might not have hockey knowledge, but I think he's a hockey fan, and I think he likes the team, and he's spent a bunch of dough. And I think, even with the Bills, which he also owns, there were executive decisions and hirings that people were like, I'm not sure about. And I think that's happened through his tenure there, but I don't think any of it has ever been because he thinks he's smarter than the other guys in the league. I think he's trying to be trustworthy. I think he's interviewing these guys and they're saying, and he's hiring them, and the intent is right, but it's easy to give up or take heat when your team hasn't made the playoffs in 14 years. And I don't think, I would be shocked to hear that he said, no, we can't spend this money. There would be some kind of cap, but I also think that he's opened up the purse strings over the years and it hasn't worked out. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of talent on that team. I think Donnie Granato maybe was a little too soft with this group for too long. And they're just starting to realize that, we might have to grind it out here sometimes and suck it up and play through some shit as opposed to just, we're growing and we're young and we're improving. No.
Yeah.
We're done with that.
You have to be done with that when you got guys who are 26 and 27. You do that when you have 22. When you've got young guys that you're fluffing up and going, okay, like they've got to go through the process. A lot of these guys, and that's why I think that's where Ottawa's at. But guys have gotten paid. Guys have had, good statistical seasons. But this is Brady Tkachuk's 7th year. Like this isn't his 3rd year. Now you're looking at Drake Batherson, like guys like that. With Ottawa, at some point these rebuilding teams have to turn the corner, and not everyone's going to hit. But I look at that Detroit team as a weird. That's still a weird. Like I think the league is about superstars, and superstars deliver wins on Tuesday nights in November because it's if it's a dead night. And if you look at some of these teams, do they have superstars or they have just really good players? And that's where the difference is for me when I'm comparing the teams that are at the top compared to the teams that are at the bottom is, are your best players able to compete against other teams' best players? You can have a team, depth and all of that. Like the Florida Panthers had stars, but they had depth. And that's why they won the Stanley Cup last year. But Bobrovsky's won Vezinas. Like, it's not like he's a dud. Your Ekblad, their defensive core was really good. Barkov is a top tier, I would say, star/superstar. Reinhart pushed himself into that. I look at Buffalo. Are there stars players on there? I look at Detroit. Is there a superstar on Detroit? or is there just really good players?
What about
That's-
Calgary?
Well, I think
Because we
Dustin Wolf is a
had this
chance to be
debate a
star.
fair bit this week, kind of saying everything's great. Everyone's very happy with how the Flames have played, the way Wolf has come along, where the team is at. I mean, I think everyone's extremely happy. I was at the
Right.
poker tournament. Yeah, life is good as a Flame.
Yeah.
But are there stars in that lineup? Are there players? I forget who I said it to, but I say it lots anyway. Are there players that if you do get into the playoffs that can elevate in that game, or are they grinding it out at their top of their rate or their game right now? That's the one concern. And if you're Connie, how are you getting a superstar? Because you're going to have to hit on a middling draft, position, right? That would be the way to say it. You're not going to have a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're either going to have to hit on Pasternak late in the first or make a deal that turns out to be a complete fleecing.
Those are hard to make.
They are hard.
But that's you draft and develop guys that push through, right? Like,
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job of drafting, pieces that might become core pieces. There's just nothing close to a start. Like, we love Connor Zary, pay him. He's nowhere near a point a game. Like, we're not talking about a superstar. We're talking about a really good player that helps you, but they don't have a guy that you could ever even dream of scoring 50. Yeah. Never mind 100 points. I mean, you noted it. Their best shot at the star is probably the goalie that everyone thought was too small.
Right. But that's, maybe you find one. Maybe you find one in a trade. Like, I don't know. Like, you're right. Buffalo has to be careful. You make a great point. Buffalo has to be careful because if you go and try and get a Dylan Cousins out of there, and all of a sudden Cousins ends up being a hell of a player. And I think he is. I think he's got a chance to be. Now all of a sudden it's another player that left Buffalo. That Thompson, I don't know if you call him a late bloomer, but he's a hell of a player. Like, big and strong and shoots the puck. Does he have warts in his game? Yes. But maybe if they either have a system that's tight, I go back to Buffalo, and this isn't a slight on Lindy Ruff, but I think about it like if we did coach trades, if you put John Tortorella in Buffalo, that demands blocking shots, demands a tight system. Because Philadelphia, I don't think is a very good team. Like as far as like there's good players, but John Tortorella, that system, they are hard to play against every night. And keep in mind, regardless that I know it's kind of unwritten, like they've had to start over in net. Carter Hart's not available to them, because of that. But you've had some players that they've had to move out, and Tortorella didn't like this guy or whatever, and they're building a culture there, and they compete every night. Like they were in a playoff spot half the season last year or more, where we thought they were going to be a bottom feeder team. Same thing. We just ran them on that board. They're right there again, like getting points off of teams. If you had a hardened, stiff coach that said non-negotiable, you're not playing. Like you sat out that Michkov. You're not playing because you're not playing well.
He just sat Farabee for 3 games.
Exactly.
He's one of their good young players. Yeah.
These are good players, but he's like not playing the way I like it. Sorry. Like it would be interesting to see. I know they went from Donnie Granato to Lindy Ruff, who's an old school guy and all of that type of stuff. But I'm talking old school with structure.
That's what they're missing, is the structure.
And I see a lot of these teams that are coming that either play a tight system, or if they're too loose, that's where they get exposed on certain nights. I think a scary team in a couple of years is going to be San Jose. Like, I think they're going to be legit. Like, that Celebrini's a star. And
Will Smith in behind him. The Eklund kid's having a big year. Yeah.
They got the goalie. They've got their goalie of the future now, that Askarov. Like, they're I think, you give them 2 to 3 years to continue to grow and then add around it. San Jose, they went scorched earth. They got a player. Now they're building. Like they're gonna leapfrog other teams. So it's interesting to see throughout the league how this is all unfolding.
So what's a guy do in Boston on a Wednesday?
I'm going for a workout right now before my show and order some lunch. And then I don't know. I'm going to watch games tonight. You know, when you're on the road for too long, you just feel like I'm like fighting it. I'm fighting like there's a cold coming in there. There's sickness coming in there, and I'm the bubble boy to start off with. So I think I'll probably get sick in the next 2 days, and I don't want to take it home for my family. So I'm hoping for a sickness today or tomorrow, and then I'll be clear by Friday by the time I get home.
What a guy. PF Chang's, what are we going to do?
Boston, if there is PF Chang's, I didn't even thought about that. Now you placed it in my head. If there's a PF Chang's, even if it's in Brookline, Massachusetts, I'll have to pay $120 for Uber Eats to drive it in.
Can I quickly get a temperature check on you on what the Oilers organization chose to do yesterday? They do not appeal a suspension and then write some note that says nothing about how they're disappointed with the league. Like, is this just, filling your diaper, upset that your superstar is not drawing enough penalties? Like, he crushed out a guy in the face. What are we talking about here?
I don't know why that came. Like, I thought it was weird.
Like, what did it accomplish? I just think they're only getting more.
Was nothing. I think the statement was a nothing burger.
Yeah.
But it was almost like, okay, we're going to release a nothing burger and there's nothing to see here. Like if they come out with a fiery statement, it adds gasoline to an already upset fan base. To me, they came out with a nothing burger to go, nothing to see here. We're just going to chew on this. I agree. Like, he should have gotten suspended. Like, I don't think there's anybody who disagrees he should have been suspended. But what happened is the narrative got shifted to like, well, you're not protecting star players. Well, there's the guy that crushed the other guy.
What are we talking about?
Two different arguments here. Like that's where I was like, I thought 3 games. Like, I kept saying 2, and I had a decent comparable. I thought Matthews on Dahlin. That was a cross check to the head in an outdoor game. Matthews got 2 games. McDavid gets 3. And I thought, okay, well, have times changed from 2019 that was to 2025? Is it inflation? Is it 1 game inflation? I don't know. I thought 3 was rich for both of them. I think if they said 2 games and don't even talk to us, I think everyone kind of, all right, I can. The 3rd game I thought is what's put people over the edge.
Which is crazy. Because if Department of Player Safety got it right within 1 game, like, you'd say they did an okay job.
But that's the thing. Like, all we hear is, oh, they're soft on people. And then when they hit, it's like, you're too heavy. And it's like, okay, so what do you want? And then the comparison was Christian Soucy, the cross check on McDavid in the face in the playoffs. He got 1 game. Well, that's the playoffs. Different game. Like, it's different. There's a barometer. I don't know. I thought 2 games, but again, can you argue? You cross check the guy in the head. I thought the Myers one was just weird. Like, it's like, the game's over. Here, take this with you. Here's Here, put that in your suitcase on the flight home. Here's one. Like, there was no battle. There was no nothing. Like, unless there was some words said or something, it was just like, here you go. Put that in your pocket. So that one was a weird one, but what's leading up to it is the 12-second wrestling match and all of that. The Oilers had the puck. So even if, like, I would have liked to see a ref put the hand up going, we are going to call that nonsense going on, but you guys have possession. But I don't know what could have been done there. It's a good case study, and I see refs throughout the league all the time. I travel with them on planes and stuff. I would like to ask their opinion if in that scenario what they would have done. If you see it, you probably just put your hand up, but you're not blowing it down. Like because the Oilers had the puck. It was kind of a crafty move by Garland, I'll tell you that. Like,
Connor's frustrated. Nothing dirty happened. They're just hanging on to him. Like, he's just frustrated.
He's just holding on to him, and McDavid gets up and hands out the business. We see Sid. Sid gets frustrated. Top players get frustrated all the time. It's just different in Rhett. You're in our era. You frustrate Chris Pronger, he'll chop your arm off and throw it over the glass. So that's the difference. Like, there was a price to pay to piss off those top players back in the day, and there was also a toll to be paid. You touch Gretzky, and 3 mascot-sized guys come over the boards in McClelland and McSorley and Semenko. Same thing in Calgary. Theo Fleury, you had Nick Fotiu and all these mutants that skate around to Tim Hunter and guys like that. So there was a toll to be paid to mess with top players. Just don't have that anymore.
Thanks, buddy. We'll let you get that workout in.
Wait 1 second. Our old buddy old teammate got a new gig, Noodles.
Oh,
There. Oh my
the
God.
Dirty Vernon Vipers.
Is that Hank? That's Hank. I love it. From Me, Myself, and Irene. Dean McAmmond.
What a show.
You remember he would just snap out of nowhere.
Yes.
We called him Hank. Wasn't it? Isn't that his name? He was the cop, like with the mustache. That was Hank from Me, Myself, and Irene. That was Dean McAmmond. Out of nowhere, it'd be the happiest day or something. You look over and he's snapping a stick in the corner and losing his mind. And he was tough as nails. I love Dino. He looks good there. I haven't seen him in a minute. It's nice to see guys having success. I love it.
I just remember he was with the Senators and he got knocked out in the corner and everybody was stepping around. I was like, get away from that poor bastard. Someone's going to cut his jugular.
Wasn't that Prongs knocked him out?
No, Downey caught him behind the net.
Was it Downey?
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jumped and oof.
Yeah, that's that led up to that famous Darryl speech in Edmonton because McAmmond got run. It was a Friday night. I'll give you a quick 2-minute story. We're 6 games into the season, and on a Friday night we played the St. Louis Blues at home, and then Saturday we played in Edmonton, and it was back-to-back. And the Friday night I started, and Darryl would always write things on the board, and I think one of the top things was start quick. So we ended up losing 2-1, I believe, that game. And we didn't really have a great response, nothing. And the next morning, Darryl said, I want everybody dressed in their gear at 11 a.m. before we go out for morning skate in Edmonton. And then Darryl, Rhett, do you remember this? He went around the room twice.
Tried to hide. You couldn't hide. You could not hide.
I was hiding because he knew I was fragile and he needed me to play that night. So he came to me, looked at me and said, I cannot shred this guy or we won't have a goalie tonight. So he went on and he tuned up Tony Lidman, went back to Oleg Sabrikin, went back to Tony, went to Chris Clark, the warrior, he kept calling him. Clarky, you warrior, because he showed the clip. Jeez. He goes, Cookie, roll the tape. And he showed the clip of our start. And Jamal Mayers absolutely destroyed Dean McAmmond along the wall with his head down. And to the point where McAmmond was like knocked out or something. It was ugly. And nobody went to Jamal. Like Chris Clark went over and kind of gave him a push. And he's like, stop the tape. Clarky, you warrior. You're going to defend your player. And he went around the room and so the first 10 minutes, he just chewed everybody out, showed the first 10 minutes of the game. And he said, what was on the board? And I remember guys wouldn't answer. And he's like, what was on the board? And somebody goes, start quick. He's like, start quick. Look at this start. And he shows the start and McAmmond gets knocked out and nobody goes to Jamal Mayers. And then he's Christoph Oliwa. Why did I bring you in here? You haven't had a fight. You haven't done anything. So he was tuning everybody up. Jerome McGinley, what are you going to do tonight in your home city? And he's just chewing on everybody. Remember the drop of the puck? I think we had four fights. And we won that game 4-2. And I believe I might be off on scores, and that changed the course of our season because it galvanized us, and we'd had a really kind of slow, unemotional start to the season, and we took off after that. And it was that game in Edmonton where everybody it was a battle of Alberta, and that was all because Dean McAmmond
because he got knocked out. Yeah,
he got hit so hard.
Happy to help, guys.
It's a crazy. But Rhett, you remember that speech?
You'll never forget that one. Nope.
Do you remember what
you were in that room? You remember?
So you got spared a little bit because you're fragile. Warner, you remember what were you getting?
I didn't get it too bad. I was fairly new. I was my first year. I like when he was going around. You're like, well, you're getting it. Everyone got a piece of it.
Yeah.
But mine wasn't spectacular. He had a few guys that he really, like you said, he doubled back on.
Safrican
Double
feels like
back
he
on.
would take it hard there.
Saprikin with the white skates. I have to pay you $1 million because of the salad. What was it called? The rookie cap or whatever. You make $1 million with your white soccer skates on, or whatever it was. Like, oh my God, it was unbelievable. It was one of the greatest speeches of all time. If you weren't in the line of fire, like everyone, once they moved away from you, you kind of had your jersey over your mouth because you were like, oh my God, that was a beauty. So
beautiful. All right, buddy.
All right,
enjoy
guys.
Boston. Appreciate you.
We'll chat
There he is.
soon.
You bet. Jamie McLennan.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.